What's going on, everybody? It's Ron Brown, LMT. You already know who I am, man. Brother Mikey Fever couldn't be here because, like I said yesterday, he has a fever. So, no Mikey Fever today. Let's go right into the discussion. We have our brother Sharif Anil Bey on
Islam.
with us today to discuss whether or not the Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc. have a trust, and did they sell out? Let's talk about the particulars of that. This is a very important topic because brothers out there in the social media land, they have this on their mind. This is like a gripe with these brothers. This is why they don't go into the temple. This is what was told to me. The younger brothers don't deal with the temple because the temple sold out. So let's talk about it. Peace, God. Peace, God. Peace to Awareness Daily. Um, so awareness daily. We're talking about the awareness daily is always his. I like to talk to that.
Always, exactly.
Yeah. So we're talking about does the MSTA have a trust? Did they sell out?
Right.
What's the difference between the Inc. and everyone else? I want to talk about that as well.
Let's talk about that too. Exactly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So
I want to start with addressing this whole sellout thing. That's what I want to start with. First, I want to rise giving praise to Allah, honors to the last prophet in these days, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Savior of humanity, honors to the Moorish Science Temple of America, honors to New York Perspective Talk Show.
Thank you, sir.
That's right. And honors to the host, Brother Mikey Fever, hopefully gets well, and our brother Ron Brown Bey.
Indeed. That's a fact. That's a fact. Why you put my government out there, bro?
So this sellout thing first. People say, "Oh yeah, the Moorish Science Temple of America sold out." Here's the first question you want to ask yourself: sold out to who, and sold out to what? Let's start with that, because before we go any further, we're talking about what the prophet taught. The prophet said, "I'm going to help this government." Let's start with that. So we're not anti-government. We're not a government separate from the United States of America. Okay, we're not. Never were. Okay, if that were the case, why would the prophet incorporate the organization with the government?
Makes sense.
Okay, how about that?
Yeah.
You know, he said the mission statement, part of the mission statement of the organization is to teach the things that make our people better citizens.
Mm-hmm.
Not make our people citizens. The organization doesn't do that. Clear that one up too. Moorish Science Temple of America does not make you a citizen. See? It teaches things that make you a better one.
Right.
All right. Now, this whole sellout thing. What do we sell out to who? The organization is set up to aid and assist in uplifting fallen humanity and to aid and assist in making us better citizens. It's working with the government. Now, government is a machine, people. It's a machine. It's made up of people, but the government is not a personality. It's not. That American flag that some people like to call, oh, no, it's not a flag, it's a banner. Oh, it's a trade banner. It's blah, blah, blah. The American flag is the flag that represents the United States of America. It does not represent, quote unquote, white people. It does not represent just Europeans. It doesn't. It represents America. You all realize, man, this is such a big topic, right? Core American values has no room for race classification.
Right.
And I can prove it really simple. In the New World idea, which is the United States, to qualify to answer up to the standard for citizenship, You have to be ready to adopt the ideal that one nation can be formed that are made up of people with different and various old world connections. So I don't care what anybody's see, and see, understanding this literally catapults you right to the forefront of what is troubling America today. Right to the forefront. Because what are we seeing today? On the far right, we're seeing an idea that has hijacked the Republican Party. That idea is what? Christian nationalism. The basis of that idea is that the United States is a Euro-Christian nation.
Right.
If you understand that, then you can understand in a profound sense why a lot of the pro-Trumpers are for a border on the south of America, but not a border at Canada. When over 60% of the Mexicans coming in are coming from the northern border in Canada. That's the truth. See? That's the truth. That is the truth. You will understand why the same group of people, the same ideology, right, is vehemently anti-abortion. And that's fine. But you want to understand why. Why is it, people? You see? Why is that? And oh, here's another one. Well, yeah, we can talk about it. Well, I'll get into it later. But again, at the state level, the whole thing about race classification as it relates to government happened at the state level.
Okay.
The various states began to pass laws relative to race.
Does that have anything to do with like 13 colonies and the South?
It goes back that far. But here's some history that's very vital in that respect to give everybody or to give people a more well-rounded perspective. See, a big part of the false history that Asiatics, in other words, so-called black people in America live is that we all came here as slaves. No, that's false history, people. That's false history. Okay? That's false history. Justice Curtis in the Dred Scott case, Scott v. Sanford, 1856, 1857, when he wrote his dissenting opinion, right, to counter Justice Taney's opinion, not ruling, opinion. Justice Taney's opinion was Negro, whether slave or free, a Negro of African descent, was not part of we the people and therefore cannot be a citizen, whether slave or free. Remember, the Dred Scott case was not a case on citizenship. So him talking about citizenship had nothing to do with the case. It was a property case. It was a property issue, not an issue of citizenship. In legal terms, that's called dictum, meaning you're giving an opinion that has no real bearing on the ruling. That's what Taney did. He was a Confederate. And what was going on at that time? The South was doggedly holding on to what they called the peculiar institution, slavery. They knew that Lincoln was like, nah, to break the South, we'll get rid of slavery. Not to free Negroes, not to be altruistic, not to be humanitarian, to break the South. That's what that was. Okay. Now, Justice Curtis, in his dissenting opinion, you know how it goes. Sometimes when, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And a lot of times the enemy of my enemy, right, in his war with his enemy will say something that neither one of them really wanted us to know.
Right.
That's what Justice Curtis did in his dissenting opinion. He bombed Taney. He said Taney was 100% wrong. We have the actual records. During the framing of the Constitution of the United States in 5 of the 13 states, at least 5 of them, at least 5, Asiatics were counted as citizens of those states and actually voted on the ratification. See, that's real history. That's why the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, I love my people and I desire for them and me to, right, to return back to the constitutional fold. You can't go back to something you were never a part of to begin with. See?
Now, what you just quoted,
yes,
wouldn't it, if you read that, if you're a follower of Prophet Noble Drew Ali and you read that, how would you say that Prophet Noble Drew Ali separated us from the government?
Exactly. Exactly.
Like, I don't know if brothers are reading.
They're not.
Okay.
What it is this is what happens. I know because it happened to me in the 90s, in the early 90s. You come into this thing being given the wrong idea. And because you come in that way, it's very, you know, you've heard the statement, you know, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression.
Right.
That's their first impression. That's the first impression. You see what I'm saying? We're separate from the government. We're the real Americans. We're the real sovereigns on the land. This is what they hear.
Right.
And they think, okay, being indigenous somehow trickles over into legality, into what laws apply and what laws don't. That doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
Don't believe me? What happened to that one European in North Korea a couple of years ago who was just traveling in North Korea, but he was an American and played with that little picture on the wall and decided he was going to take a picture off the wall? What happened to him?
He was detained.
He died in prison. There.
Oh, wow. Oh, he died in prison.
Yeah, Otto Warmberg. That's who he was. Otto Warmbier, something like that. Otto was his name. Yeah, he died there. Get it? There's something called territoriality, people. There's something called nationality, and there's territoriality. How about that? Mm-hmm. See? We won't even go into it. You look it up. All right? Territoriality is like this. You can have all the rights in the world. In my house, what you got?
Nothing.
How about that? See?
Basically what I tell you.
That's all you got is what I tell you in my house. That's called territoriality, people.
Yeah.
See? All right. So back to what I was saying, right? We fell from the constitutional standard.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what happened. The prophet is getting us back to it. First of all, to even be able to say that means he knew what many of us didn't know. He was not affected by the artificial history. See? Mm-hmm. For us, now that being said, follow me. It's very easy to say, yeah, we're our own independent government. We're not part of the United States of America. It's easy to say that because we've been socially, politically, economically disenfranchised for generations. So It's easy that we're already othered in American society. So it's easy to believe. Get it?
Right.
And it offers the false, phony promise of getting some get back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's playing on our damaged psyche. That's what's happening. It's playing on our damaged psyche. I know, because that was me. A lot of the people that don't like me in the movement today don't like me because once upon a time I thought like them. Now I don't. As man unfolds, as God unfolds.
Right.
See? Right. You still thinking the same way you thought 10 years ago, you ain't growing.
Yeah.
You're not growing.
And I went into the movement the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as Clark Ill would say, trying to get the white man told, so to speak. And
shout out to brother Clark Ill, Grand Sheik of Temple 54, Moorish Science Temple, American Court.
Shout out to him. Shout out to him. And you know, he would always say, you know, brother, brothers try to just go out there, flash their nationality cards, and try to get the white man told. It's an ego thing. And I went through that.
Right.
And went into the temple. I realized that's not the best route. And I did the taxes thing and
we did all that stuff. We've
did
been
all
yeah, that's another thing too. A lot of the brothers that do that stuff in 2024, and when you disagree with them, they believe you disagree with them because you don't know it. Like, my guy, come on. We was doing this before there was social media, when you had to really show up.
show up. Yeah.
You had to really pop out. That's you had to really be outside with it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Wasn't no social media. Wasn't no talking about it like you really did it when you really didn't. You know, you really had to face judges down. You really had to face police down. That's what we were doing in the 90s.
And the 2000s.
And the 2000s, for real. Exactly. You see, so, but back on the whole topic of this whole sellout thing, right? They don't understand the fight. They don't understand the conflict, bro. And that's fatal. Listen to what I'm saying. That's fatal in the conflict. You don't show up to a basketball game with a football jersey. You see what I'm saying? They don't understand the conflict. They don't understand what type of conflict we're in. They think it's one thing when it's not. They don't realize they're literally playing into the hands, right, of those who have no mercy. They're literally playing into their hands, bro. Literally. You see, the prophet put protection on the movement. Okay? And the protection is not selling out. Because okay, here we go. You ready? Act 4, the divine constitution and bylaws. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws. And all members must obey the laws of the government. Because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. We're gonna revisit that whole part and partial thing too, because it has
I was getting ready to go there.
Because it has to do with this trust situation, right? Anyway, what do you mean part and parcel of the government must live the life accordingly? Here we go. Nationality determines political status. It determines political status. What is political status? Political status is your collective ability to utilize the political system to shape your social environment to your benefit. Let me repeat that. Political status is your capacity as a national group. What do we mean by national group? I gotta explain that too. The German Americans are a national group. They're also a vote bloc. See that? Nowadays, the LGBTQ is a vote bloc. See? The Irish is a national group and a vote bloc. See what I'm saying? In other words, they vote based on Irish issues.
Right.
The Germans vote based on German issues. They are a national group, meaning they have the same national descent nature. They all come from Germany or are descendants of Germans, but born in America. They're American citizens of German descent. Being an American citizen doesn't throw away that. In fact, core American value states that it's honored and celebrated. Your old world connection is your contribution to the American experience. Let me repeat that. Your old world descent nature is your contribution to the American experience. Thus, via core American values, to answer up to the social standard. It's a social standard, not a legal one. To answer up to the social standard, you got to first be able to do what? Say where you're from. If you can't say where you're from, you're not contributing. Fast forward to 2024, you're a billionaire, Asiatic. You're still seen as an N-word socially. Why? There's other reasons, but the main reason is this. You are seen as a descendant of a product of American commerce.
Right.
not a descendant of a contributor to the American experience. See that? So what's the real fight, Brother Sharif? The real fight is the prophet said, by being a Moorish American, you're part and parcel of the government. Well, what's the government, people? The people is the government.
Right.
That's the American system. The people. People say, no, brother, the republic was overthrown, and now we're in the democracy. Okay, pause. Define republic.
Well, let's go into it, because that's one of those words in the community that
yes,
that's misunderstood.
Here it is, real simple. Republic is a republican form of government, is a government whereby the people rule by way of their elected representatives.
Now, how does that differ from democracy? Okay.
Democracy is what they call, is to simply put, democracy means everybody has a voice. So what do we really have? A democratic republic. That's what we got.
It's simple, man.
That's what we got, people. People have been listening for decades to the wrong thing. No, we got that whole, it's either a republic or democracy. We got that from the European sovereign citizen movement.
Yeah.
That's where we got it from. Bottom line. Now, what was their objective? And what is their objective to this day?
Also, you forgot about the not only the sovereign citizen movement, also the Indian, what's the name of that? The indigenous movement.
Okay, well, yeah. Here we go. That is linked to it, because they borrowed elements from the sovereign citizen, and some borrowed even from the redemption movement. The redemption movement's
right. Redemption movement. Boom.
Yep. Right. So what was their objective? See, I know personally, because in the 90s, I was part of the crew of people that were interfacing with real European sovereign citizens, because we thought at the time that that's what the movement was about. Mm-hmm. We thought it was about separation. We thought it was about independent government. That's what we thought. But we went really hard with it. So we sought out these people. I sought out Leonard Peth. Look him up. Google him. P-E-T-H. I spoke directly with Leonard Peth back in the 90s. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I had to lie. Listen close. I want y'all to hear. I had to lie to the man on the phone. Because when I first made contact with him and started asking him questions about this stuff, the first thing he asked me, listen. First thing he asked me, he said, have you accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? Boom. If I said no, he wouldn't have talked to me. What does that tell you?
I think it's going back to what you were saying earlier. As
Christian identity.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
In other words, we ended up taking advice and borrowing tactics from people that if they had their way today, we'd all be in physical chains tomorrow.
Right.
It's the truth. You see what I'm saying? It's the truth. We'd all be in physical chains tomorrow. But we were taking advice from these guys. You know what Leonard Peth told me out of his own mouth? Our objective is we're waging war with the government. Our objective is to bankrupt the government. That's what he told me. Well, that's diametrically opposed to Prophet Noble Drew Ali's program.
And this is where brothers get that information from. It's kind of like intertwined with the sovereign citizen movement and Leonard Peth.
Leonard Peth is just one. There's a whole bunch of guys. There's Roger Elvick. Look him up. E-L-V-I-C-K. Roger Elvick. That's another guy to look up. Yeah. There's a number of these guys. Yeah, man. And what happened is that many people, myself included, got these ideas first. And then what we tried to do is make the prophet's words fit our wrong idea. Mm. So you got people here saying this. Listen to this. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government. You got people saying that's not talking about the United States government. It's talking about the Moorish government. What Moorish government?
I guess they would say because the way the prophet set up the temple and its organization system, if you will, that would be the government, right?
That is a government for the organization, but man, listen, because it's a religious corporation. Toys R Us has a governing body.
Yeah, yeah.
A government, Toys R Us. Are they a civil authority though?
No.
See, what determines the scope of their activity as a government? What determines it? The objective of the corporation.
Right.
In this case, what? Sell toys. Not police streets. Not create license plates. Not, you see where I'm going with this?
Yes, sir.
All right. So same with the Moorish Science Temple of America. There's nothing in the mission statement of the organization or in the original filing for the charter at Cook County. Nothing in it that says it's a civil authority. And even if it did say that, there is no law in any state that provides a means for that state to authorize or incorporate something greater than itself. Come on, people. Can't do that.
Well, let's rewind back to what were we saying? Does the Moorish Science Temple of America have a trust?
Let's go back to that. Okay. Yeah, the whole sellout thing. Matter of fact, let me wrap that up real quick with one sentence here. The organization is dedicated to making people better citizens. What is it really trying to do? The war is a war of narratives. See, in black letter law, we're considered citizens, but socially, we're ostracized. So it's fighting that. We're fighting for recognition. Recognition doesn't mean permission either. That's the other part. We're fighting a narrative that says we are inherently criminal. We are subhuman. It's a social fight, not a legal fight. It's a social fight. Proclaiming nationality means you live the life, not file paperwork. See? So we have just as much a right, if not more, to say we are American citizens. But you can't say that and then break the law. See that? You have to participate in making the laws.
Right.
That's it. Nationality terms political status, not legal status. Political status means we're sitting with lawmakers before the laws are made. Now we're bound to obey them because they benefit us. See? That means that's the meaning of take your place in the affairs of men. Because if you don't, you're going to get managed, you just don't have no say in the managing. See? Right. All right, cool. So back on the whole thing with trust, right? Let's just address the psychology right off the gate. Those that are saying, oh, no, the prophet left the trust. He left a vast estate, blah, 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 right? He did leave a vast estate. That's a fact. Ain't got nothing to do with money. That's what people are chasing. They're chasing a payout. They're chasing a payout. That is the root of the psychology with people talking about this trust thing. They're looking to get paid. That's it.
Well, what do you say to people who are not necessarily looking to get paid, but they're looking for, the Moorish Science Temple of America to have schools and hospitals? They want to see bigger things happen for our people in general. Just as brother Elijah Muhammad did at a time, etc. So I think that's what some brothers are looking for.
I get that, and you know what? That's honorable, right? You remember the movie Malcolm X with Denzel Washington, Spike Lee did? Remember the one scene where they were outside the church, and the people came outside the church, and he said, "Oh my God, you're not in heaven." See, you thought you was going to come out of church and you was going to have a ready-made heaven for you, but it's not, right?
Right.
That's what a lot of us are looking for. We join the organization thinking that heaven on earth is just to add water and it's microwavable. You see what I'm saying? But when you come into this movement, You see shovels, bricks, mortar, and all this other stuff, and you're like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Where's the hospitals? Where's the stores? Where's the right? And what's the prophet saying? You see those bricks? You see those pipes? You see that shovel?
Mm-hmm.
You see that mortar? Get to work. We want it ready-made. We want to just walk into it. And I realize the real bricks are men and women coming together. That's how we fell in the first place. So we got to learn that lesson. When we learn that lesson, the schools and the hospitals and the stores are a foregone conclusion. Because guess what will happen now? Listen, we're just keeping it 100. Guess what will happen now? If we had the stores and all that stuff today without fixing our heart and our character, the guns come out tomorrow. See? Right. If we had the bad today, the guns come out tomorrow. We got to fix our character. We got to fix our principles. Right? Mm-hmm. When we do this, it's like the brothers say in the lodge, right? I grip my brother's hand. Now, once I've gripped my brother's hand and he's gripped my hand, now we can enter into the house of labor together. Now we can be like busy bees, industrious. You see what I'm saying? Okay. That's it. We got to fix the character. But now back on the whole money thing and the whole trust thing. Yes, a lot of people are like, yeah, but where's the money and this, that, and the third? And where's the, and so that makes them without having on their mind what I just said, that makes them susceptible to this whole, oh, the prophet left to trust. But the sheiks double-crossed the prophet, and the temple got infiltrated, and they compromised, and so they keep the trust secret, and so therefore, people got to stop. Mm-hmm. That's where that comes from. You see, that's where that comes from.
Now, so the trust. This is coming from exactly where, like.
Good question.
Yeah. So I guess you said like you were going back into part and partial or part and parcel. People are confused about the wording. And I want to know, when did part and partial and part and parcel get confused?
We have an original. I'll send it to you, right? We have copies of the original Divine Constitution. It wasn't called the Divine Constitution and Bylaws of the Moorish Science Temple of America. It was called the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, the Divine Constitution and Laws. That's what it was called. Mm-hmm. And guess what it says in Act 4 of that original? Part and partial. It was never changed. See, with the people that run that part and parcel thing, they try to say that, oh, well, the sellout sheiks changed it.
Yeah.
And even when you define words, they have to be defined in their proper context.
Yeah.
So when they hear the word parcel, they're like, well, parcel means a portion of land. So we're just talking about birthright. Stop. Yeah. Let's read the sentence in its full context so we get the full context. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government. Because by being a Moorish American, you are part and partial of the government. There's your context. Ain't got nothing to do with land.
So what do you say that, when people say the prophet did have money, the prophet did have property and etc. And that money and those, not necessarily the money, however, the profit and the estate belongs to the people, and that estate could quite possibly be in a trust.
What was the estate? I'll tell you what they say. You ready?
Yeah.
See, I know the argument very, very well. Why? Because there was a time when I was pro-trust. I studied it. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Here it is. You ready? They believe that the deed to the trust is chapter 47, instruction 7. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across the Great Atlantis, even to the present North, South, Central America, also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands, before the great earthquake which caused the Great Atlantic Ocean. They cite that as the deed of conveyance. So they say, oh, America belongs to us because the prophet gave it to us. See? And now, hold on, let me go back. When the prophet went to Havana, Cuba in 1928, right, from January 20th to February 20th of 1928, when he went to Havana, Cuba for the Pan American Conference, right? A lot of where they get this stuff from begins. I'm going to tell you where it begins. It begins with an oral statement. One of the oral statements and prophecies of Prophet Noble Jawali. Right? And in those oral statements, it talks about when he went to Havana, Cuba, and that he received a mandate. Right? And then here's the last that's said about it in the oral statements. Brother G. Cook Bey said that the prophet showed us the mandate in the adept chamber. Stop right there. Brother Ron Brown Bey, do you know what goes on in the adept chamber?
No.
Right. Do most people know what goes on in the adept chamber? No. Right. So how are you going to tell me what the mandate is? See? Right. You don't know. Well, I'm not going to. Somebody might know. But the mandate or a mandate is not a trust. So what was being said when people, we're talking late 90s, early 2000s, people started speculating and then passing the speculation on as fact. That's what happened. So they said, okay, that's when the prophet changed the organization from a civic organization to a religious organization to protect the trust, to protect the mandate. And get it? This is where people started to get this stuff from. You see? This is where they started to get this stuff from. And then they start looking into the components of a trust and trying to match up things that the prophet did and say, see, this is a trust. Mm-hmm. See? Mm-hmm. That's what they start doing. So they'll say the prophet was the settler. You know, for important terms for a trust, you have to have a settler, a trustee, beneficiary, trust res, right? In other words, property that that's conveyed, right? And then hereditament, which is another term for trust res or property, right? Something that to be conveyed to the beneficiary. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Okay. So they're saying that it's an express trust, meaning implied, right? Not necessarily written down. That's what they say. So then they start piecemealing it. Oh, okay, what's the trust res of the hereditament? Oh, chapter 47. Oh, well, what is the trustees? Oh, the sheiks. Because sheiks are trustees, which they are, of the organization, right? Sheiks are trustees, right? That's the term we use for the religious corporation. But when you look at the document, the filed in Cook County, July 20th, 1928, right? It says trustees, and then it's crossed out, and then it says sheiks on the document. Okay, that's what it says. It's a trustee of a corporation, not trustee of a trust. You see?
Okay.
All right.
So people are like just trying to piece things together and mixing it all up in their heads.
Brother, it's like with this whole sovereign citizen stuff. They already have their own preconceived idea that's wrong. And they're trying to make the prophet's actions and words match the wrong idea. They're fitting square pegs into round holes.
Okay.
So basically, this is what they're saying. The prophet is the settler of the trust. The sheiks, named on the Cook County affidavit of the trustees. The members of the MSTA, right? Or some people say all Moorish Americans, whether they're members or not, are beneficiaries. And that the land of the Americas is the trust res, or the corporeal hereditament. This is what they said. This is basically it. So if I join the Moorish Science Temple of America, that means America's mine. I do what I want. I take your house because it's on my land. I have the superior claim. I take your house, even if you live in it. So what, you have a deed, or so what, you have a mortgage, and so what, you have a deed to the property. I have the superior claim. This, you see where this is going?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So the prophet left what exactly?
A corporation, a religious corporation. But more importantly than the corporation, right? He left the psychology of our forefathers. He left that. You see what I'm saying?
That's the gold.
That is the, brother, that's the vast estate.
Yeah.
That's the vast estate.
It's your mind. It's the mind. It's to change your mind.
Yes.
And your ways and actions.
Yes.
And then everything will fall into place.
The value, let's go back to something else that a lot of the sovereign citizen people teach, that our people in the people claiming Moorish adopted. Oh, there's no more real money on the market. There's no more real money in circulation. You know, the Federal Reserve notes are worthless. That's not true, people. Now, I know a whole bunch of people are up in arms now because I said that. No, it is true. It's no longer backed by gold. I didn't say that it was backed by gold or silver, because it's not. Then what they try to do is cite House Joint Resolution 192 in 1933 during the New Deal to say that that's what made the dollar bill worthless when it went off the gold standard. Wrong, people. If you say that it's House Joint Resolution 192 in 1933 during the New Deal that rendered Federal Reserve notes worthless by pulling them off the gold standard, know what it tells me? It tells me you never read House Joint Resolution 192. That's what it tells me. It tells me that you listened to somebody on the internet. You never read it. That's what it tells me. Because if you read it, you would know that House Joint Resolution 192, as it relates to the gold standard and Federal Reserve notes, switched the value of the Federal Reserve note from a fixed standard, which is the legal tender clause regarding gold, to an unfixed standard, which is the faith and credit of the American people. It turned the American people into creditors, not debtors. That's what it did, meaning your labor and your trust back the bills. That's what it means. Your labor and your trust back the bills.
Is this the same reason why they kind of manipulate inflation and things like that?
Absolutely.
To make us work harder.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. You get it? Once it's explained, it's not hard to understand. Your labor and trust. Matter of fact, all those out there listening, and I'm not being facetious, I'm being real. All of you out there who believe that Federal Reserve notes are worthless, I'm going to put my address in the my mailing address in the matter of fact, I'm going to put my cash app. You can send me every Federal Reserve note, send me every instrument of debt credit instrument of private banking from the Federal Reserve that you got. I'll take them off your hands.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Y'all know better. Y'all know better.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, send those federal notes right there. The Cash App is right there, down at the bottom.
I'll take the debt right off your hands, guys. I sure will. But you know better. That's my whole point. You know better.
Yeah.
You see? So again, it's now I brought that up for a reason, right? We have many of us, again, because we're still damaged psychologically. You see what I'm saying? That it's easy to be led in the wrong direction, hard to be led in the right direction. Heard that before, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Because we're so damaged psychologically. But like you said, the gold is putting back on the state of mind of our forefathers.
Right.
If the faith and credit, labor and trust of the American people back the bills, all you got to do is work for you and practice collective economics. That way, guess what? Whatever you lost, you can get again. You see?
Repeat that again, Mo.
Yo, what's more important? The bills or the labor that produced them? Or the money, the value, or the labor that produced it? Or the mind that produced it? Which one would you rather have?
Yeah.
Would you rather me give you a fish or teach you how to fish? Come on, people. See?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's get back on this trust thing, right? This brother by the name, we knew him because we used to, like I said, brother, see, a lot of this stuff, this is 2024. A lot of the people that are on a lot of this stuff weren't around when we were doing this stuff. They just weren't. These are people we knew. I knew Leonard Peth. I spoke to Roger Elvig. We spoke regularly to Frank Louis Eel Bay. Regularly to the man. You see what I'm saying? This whole trust thing really blew up because of him. Frank Louis Eel Bay. He was a former member of the MSTA, the Moorish Science Temple of America in Washington, D.C. He joined the organization in 1978. He claimed, listen to what I'm telling you, he claimed to have received knowledge of this so-called trust and the trust instruments in the very same year he joined. He claimed in court records, we have the transcripts. He claimed in court records that the receipt of the trust instruments effectively made him the trustee of the corporation. Word is bond. See, again, this isn't something I read. We lived it, brother. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. He claimed he accepted this position of trustee in the year 1981. Mm-hmm. In September 10th of 1996, he sent a written memorandum to all the officials of the MSTA announcing that he had been appointed trustee of the Express Trust created by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And via the appointment had been vested with all the authority and power of the Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated. No, this is real. And in the resulting court proceedings on the matter, all you got to do is look. Now, this you can look up. Frank Louis Eel Bay versus Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated. Number 6269, September term, 1998. It was decided March 3rd of 2000. The Moorish Science Temple of America was represented at the time was Brother Allah Avil, former Grand Sheikh and moderator of the Moorish Science Temple of America. A number of important matters were brought to light in the proceedings. And again, like I said, we got the transcripts. Not just that, but we spoke to him a lot before he died. All right. Frank Louis Eel Bay was not either before, during, or after said court proceeding ever a trustee or even an officer in the organization. Now I'm quoting from, right now, I'm quoting from the actual transcripts. Or the ruling, sorry. Appellant makes no claim that he was elected as an officer, trustee, or agent of appellee. Rather, he claims that his power as the chief executive officer is derived from an express trust created by the corporation's founder, Drew Ali, who died in 1929, years before the appellant was even born. Right. They actually asked him during the court proceeding, how did he receive the trust from Noble Drew Ali? Yeah, they asked him how that happened. He couldn't.
Did he answer?
He couldn't answer. This is what this further in the ruling. It says this: the Illinois statute provides the neutral principles upon which to base a decision in this case. Applying that statute, we see that appellant can readily be determined not to qualify as the chief executive officer of the corporation. because both the regulations and the historical customs of the appellee dictate that sheiks shall be elected at the annual convention of the corporation by representatives of each temple. In the absence of any evidence that appellant was elected to the offices that he claims to hold, the trial court was justified in concluding, based on neutral secular principles, that he was not an officer, trustee, or agent of appellee. Number two, none of the documents presented to the court as evidence of the existence of a trust being created by the prophet met the legal criteria of trust instruments.
Now, how can we find this right here, Mo?
Bro, I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you. Matter of fact, I didn't gotta send it to you. Look up the case online. Yeah. This is what the ruling said. Listen. The trial court asked appellant repeatedly for documentary evidence of this express trust or any tangible evidence that such trust has been created, but appellant was not able to produce any supporting documents. Nor did he explain how this express trust was communicated to him by Drew Ali. Nor did he present any other witness other than himself to testify in support of the existence of an express trust, giving him all secular power over the corporation and its assets. Number three, Frank Louis Ilbay's assertion that the term sheik in place of trustee on the Cook County affidavit is proof of the existence of a trust was effectively refuted by his own presentment. From the ruling, appellant argues that the court improperly entered the theological thicket when it examined religious documents to determine whether the prophet Drew Ali had intended the creation of any trust in favor of appellant and concluded that he had not. We do not agree. After examining the record, we conclude that while the trial court examined and evaluated various documents that were the writings of the founder and prophet Drew Ali, it did so only for a secular purpose, to determine whether Drew Ali had expressed in those documents the intent to create a trust in the appellant, as that term is used in a secular context. It's not religious. Appellant. All right. Appellant introduced certain documents for the court to consider as evidence of a trust in appellee. The court observed that the articles of incorporation for the corporation, the court observed that the articles indicated the same information that his opponent, Mr. Love Ill, had testified to, that there were no trustees and that the founder of the temple did not name any trustees, expressly contradicting what the appellant was arguing. Remember what I told you earlier? On the affidavit, it had printed on the actual affidavit trustees. Prophet crossed it out and wrote sheiks. See that?
Oh, wait. Did the prophet cross it out? Or was it the FBI? Or was it the CIA? Or was it infiltrators? Come on, Mo, we got to get deep. We got to get deep on this.
Well, let's just put it this way. The prophet had it filed in July 20, 1928. So either the prophet was FBI or the FBI made him do it before he filed it. Now you figure that out.
Got you.
See? All right.
Just to clarify, right?
Just to clarify, right? The court characterized the founder's action as taking, quote, the form of this deed and expressly lining out, or in other words, he crossed out the word trustee and put in its place the word sheik. The court concluded that this document expressly eliminates trustees. An order preventing Frank Louis Ilbay from using the name Moorish Science Temple of America was entered during these proceedings. Frank Louis Ilbay later successfully appealed this injunction on the grounds that the MSTA did not provide sufficient evidence to prove damage to the organization via his claim of being chief executive officer of the organization. That was Frank Louis Ill Bey versus Moorish Science Temple of America, Incorporated, number 37, September term 2000, decided January 9, 2001. This reversal of decision was restricted to the injunction alone against Ill Bey. It did not reverse the other findings of the court in the previous case. Right? The court's findings on this matter delivered a number of fatal blows to Frank Louis Ill Bey's assertions about a trust being created by the Prophet Drew Ali. To be sure, Maryland Court of Appeals merely observed and noted flaws that are born of an improper psychology as it relates to what the Prophet actually brought, and betrays a gross ignorance of the same. An express trust is not ambiguous. It is direct and specific. Thus, the instruments of the trust must be specific and not vague. Proponents of the trust idea state that the trust res, like I mentioned before, is chapter 47, instruction 7 of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, where it talks about, America, North and Central and South America, also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands. This passage merely describes the territories governed by the old Moroccan Empire, inherited from ancient Egypt upon its fall as a world power. That's it. It further gives a rough time marker, right? Which before the great earthquakes caused the Great Atlantic Ocean. What's that time marker? Between 12,000 and 10,000 years ago. In scientific terms, it's the Younger Dryas period, ending the last ice age. See? That's it. It in no way represents itself as a trust res, nor purports to convey the same. Further, dominion and inhabitation are not synonymous. In other words, 10,000 for over 10,000 years, we had dominion, and at one point we had inhabitation, and at one point dominion. Now we just have inhabitation. You see? Yeah. They're not synonymous. That kills that whole indigenous thing. Oh, well, I'm not subject to the laws because I'm indigenous to the land. Nah, that's not how that works. It's not how that works. Indigenous status alone does not entitle one to land possession or rulership. See? Those that hold up this ideology also assert that Act 6 of the Divine Constitution and bylaws created the trust. Right? Again, nothing in the wording of Act 6 remotely implies the conveying or the intent to convey any real property to anyone. See? Nationality is what's called, listen close, people. When we're talking about cultural heritage and cultural heritage preservation, you have tangible heritage, intangible heritage. Tangible heritage, land, buildings, property, artifacts. Intangible heritage, names, culture, language, customs. You see? So the more technical term is corporeal hereditament, incorporeal hereditament. See? Nationality is which one? Incorporeal hereditament. See that? It's not tangible. Just like the mind is not tangible. See? But the mind governs, the mind can make something tangible. So which is more valuable? What, like you said earlier, what's the gold? The intangible, not the tangible. Right? And isn't that unfailingly consistent with the Prophet's teachings? Man is not the body or the soul. Okay, come on, people. See?
Well, what do you say to people who say, the movement was sold out and, it was infiltrated? I mean, do you know of any?
No, go ahead. Continue.
Do you know of any documents that's circulating around that, speaks, on this in reference to
All you
this?
got to do is ask when the people that actually say that, ask them how. Show me the proof. This is where they come up with that. They started with the wrong idea. You see? And then they look at the organization and they're going, wait a minute, that's not matching with my idea.
All right, let's speak about that, right? So
Right.
my idea, right? If I have a group of Moors and it's like 10,000, 20,000, 100,000, however many thousand,
Right.
my idea is to galvanize those people to then put things together and make things happen in the community to kind of like slow down what's going on as far as like violence and poverty, etc. So
Correct.
why isn't that happening with what is referred to as the ink?
Okay, that's a great question, right? That's a great question. Okay. The organization and the institution exists for things exactly like that. So now I'm being critical, lovingly critical, but critical nevertheless, right? Those things are happening, just not on a large scale, right? Because charity first begins in the home.
Mhm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yes.
So before I can get out in the neighborhood and clean up, I got to first clean up where?
Home. Or
That's
my
what's
own
happening.
mind first, yeah.
That's what's happening now.
But I mean, all right, I don't want to say devil's advocate
No, please do. Please do. And I think I know where you're going. Go ahead.
but it's like the movement's been around for 100 years now.
We fell asleep. There's a difference in being sold out and then going to sleep on a job. But guess what? Here's what's deep about that. Movement's been around since 1913. Here's what's deep about that, right? In 1928, when you had tens of thousands of members and the Prophet had a huge following and a lot of power, and the movement was well known, what did he say? He said, I didn't do it for this generation. I did it for the children and the generations yet unborn. He said in the year 2000, the Moors will come into their own.
He said 2000?
He said that.
I got to see that.
I'll show it to you. Yeah. He was a prophet. So the work he did then was to lay a foundation for a future time, this time. Respectfully. Honorable Elijah Muhammad's brother, John Muhammad. But he was repeating the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He was. And I love the Nation of Islam. You know I do.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
John Muhammad said, Noble Drew Ali was unsuccessful in raising our people. Mm-hmm. He said he didn't have enough knowledge to do it. Now think about the prophecy I just gave you. Mm-hmm. All right. All right. See? The prophet didn't do it for that time. He did it for this time. See? Okay. He said, follow me. He said there are going to be new Moors coming in with their eyes wide open, seeing and knowing. How's that happen? Coming in the organization. How does that happen? You see? Mm-hmm. You know, I don't want to use this term because it's, you know, it's kind of harsh, right? It's kind of harsh. I'll make the analogy at the risk of sounding radical, right? Because we're not a terrorist organization, but terms used to describe different types of terrorist organizations, they call them sleeper cells. Meaning you don't even know they're there until they get activated and they stand up, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. From the perspective of coming into consciousness of true identity and then coming together to work and build a better society for ourselves in the American system. All you got to do, knowing what you know, Brother Ron, you can do it online, but you can go to Philadelphia and look at the white pages. Go to St. Louis and look at the white pages. Go to Pittsburgh and look at the white pages. Go to West Virginia and look at the white pages. You know what you will see? Thousands of bays and hills that ain't never been in a temple.
Mm.
It's already set up. He gave birth to a nation for real.
Now
See?
the problem is the divide.
Well, here we go. Let's take the prophecy of Ezekiel, or Ezekiel in the Old Testament, right? Where God told Ezekiel to preach to the bones in the valley. He said, they're dead bones. They're dead people. Sound familiar? Mm. He said, do it anyway. He began to preach to the bones. The bones came together and stood up as a mighty army. But then they didn't move. So Ezekiel complained to God and said, they're not moving. You know what God said? Don't worry. I'm going to let my wind hit them and then they're going to move. What's the winds? The winds of change. Power changes as the ethers change. The conditions. When the conditions change, we're going to be forced to do what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, look at the news. It ain't getting easier.
Right.
It ain't getting easier.
Maybe we need a little more pressure to
Oh, it's coming, brother Ron. It's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Why would the prophet tell us in 1928 what everybody is saying right now? You better store up some food in your home. Be prepared to be locked in for at least a month. Isn't that what you hear? You got whole organizations of preppers now. But the prophet said this in 1928. See?
What was the meaning behind Moors coming in with their eyes wide?
Eyes wide open.
Is there an inner meaning behind that statement?
Yeah.
Like a deeper meaning?
Coming in with their eyes wide open. How they coming in with their eyes wide open, seeing and knowing? Who taught them? How they know? See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. How they know? How did they know? Let's take yourself as an example, Brother Ron. You didn't know it all, but you knew something. And you came in knowing it, didn't you?
Yeah.
All right. You didn't have it 100%. You had some things wrong. But what did you have? You came in with sincerity. You came in with a general idea of what? Uplifting our people.
Right.
All right.
Yep.
See? Now let's keep it this. I won't go there. Let's just say this. You probably outperformed a lot of people. And I'll just leave it at that. That were there a lot longer than you. All right. There you go.
Now I got another. A prophet is always receiving lessons. Who was his enlightener?
Why does it matter? We're focused on the wrong things, people. We're focused on the wrong things. Wrong things. Why does it matter if you don't even know what he did? How about we study that first and see if
what made him a prophet?
And see why does that even matter?
No, I'm saying what made him, like, studying what made him a prophet, like, he was able to.
Well, we know that as students of Prophet Drew Ali's teachings, we know, right? See, we're not spooked out by it. It's not like we're saying he's half alien.
Right.
We know there's a reason why the 18 missing years out of the Bible are missing. Why? Because that was prep time. He was being prepared. You see? He was being prepared. And I'll just leave it at that. What's more important, in other words, right? How do you judge merit on these things? You judge merit by their power to impinge upon your reality. See, knowing who may or may not have taught Prophet Drew Ali ain't going to do nothing for you. Let me repeat that. Knowing who may or may not have taught Prophet Noble Drew Ali is doing nothing for you. Nothing. Now, applying the teachings either is going to change your life or it's not. But the only way you're going to know is if you do what? Apply the teachings.
Apply the teachings. Yeah.
That's it. It's the only way you're going to know. You're not going to know any other way. See that?
All right. Here's my own personal thing. Applying the prophet's teachings, you know, sometimes I feel like it makes me like, I don't know, like that edge, it takes the edge off.
Well, this is because you know what we're used to, brother? We're used to scratching and surviving.
Yeah.
That's what we're used to. That's what we're used to. We're used to scraping at the bottom of the barrel, and we call that living. We're used to living other than. We're used to living as being not accepted. So we don't want to put our guard down. See, we've gone so long being othered that deep down inside is a part of us that does not want to rejoin the human family. We want the world to accept us the way we are. See?
Facts.
We don't want to change. We want the world to change around us. See that? We don't want to acknowledge the fact that we got some changing to do. Right?
Yeah, sure.
We got changing to do. We don't want to acknowledge the fact as bad as the European has done us, which he has. We don't want to acknowledge that we had a hand in it.
Yeah,
we don't want to acknowledge that.
Outward, yeah.
Yeah, we facilitated it. We don't want to acknowledge that part. That's one of the main reasons why when we're talking real Moorish science, a lot of our own people are the least and the last to accept it. See? What do we want? Man, just give us reparations. Man, just give us the handout. Man, just give us the check. Just give me what I want. See? Not, I got something to prove to God Almighty. I got something to prove to my brother and my sister. See? Yeah. What do I got to prove to my brother?
A living example.
Yes. What do I got to prove to my brother and sister? That I'm not inherently criminal. Because guess what? We believe ourselves to be inherently criminal, don't we?
Damn.
Sheesh. Question 69. What people represent the lowest self? Those who were cast out of the holy city and those who accepted their teachings. We accepted the teachings, people, like it or not. We accepted them. That man said you're inherently criminal, and we believe it, and now we live it. Ain't that crazy? And don't realize or don't want to accept the fact that that stigma of inherent criminality is what's attached to Negro, Black, colored, African American, etc. We don't want to accept that. It's attached to it. So when they say young Black male, you already know. See? Yeah, man. We don't want to acknowledge our own condition.
I mean, so I know this is kind of off topic, but we're here. So you said we were given this false identity of criminality.
Yes.
Right? And I mean, where did that come from exactly? Do you
I can tell you that. It's easy. I'll give you a great example. I've given this example before. In the Vietnam War, in any war, and I have to let me preface what I'm about to say with this. The whole slavery issue with us didn't begin as commerce. It became commerce. It was wartime. It was a wartime thing. That's a part of the hidden history. See, you only war with equals or superiors. You don't war with savages. You don't war with subhumans. You just capture them. And isn't that how it's taught? Isn't that how it's taught? Not that there were wars fought. Okay, so let's take the Vietnam War. What did the United States and the United States allies call the North Vietnamese or the Viet Cong? Gooks, geeks, zipperheads.
Right.
Right. Fast forward to 2024, you got a second generation American of Vietnamese descent. He don't even speak Vietnamese. He goes and applies for a job. On the box, it says race. And one of the boxes says gooks, geeks, and zipperheads. Wartime conceits have been socialized into the American fabric as it relates to us. That's the origin. When you dehumanize, that's a major tool in wartime. You dehumanize your enemy. Dehumanization makes them easier to kill. So it was a dehumanization campaign that started as wartime conceit. And then later was massaged into American society and Western society.
And just to fast forward in history, do you think hip hop has anything to do with that? Movies like culture, American culture in general, or Black American culture, if you will, for lack of a better term.
Hip hop was an example of the dead body not wanting to stay dead. Hence, corporate America had to jump down on the body. First, had to take hold of it as it's trying to come up out of the grave, and said, "You know what? We're going to utilize that's man. Listen, we're still asleep in many respects, and the powers that be know it." So they said, "Oh, they're trying to come up out of the grave. We're going to utilize that energy and put them right back in." Shout out to Sexy Red. Shout out to Glorilla. Shout out to Ice Spice. We're going to take that energy and we're just going to turn it in this direction. And they're going to aim right for the grave again. See? They're going to aim right for the grave. We're just going to turn them this way. Right back in the grave. That's what's happening with hip hop as we speak.
Right. So to wrap it up, in a nutshell, we gave you everything on the trust pretty much. That was like, I mean, after you see this video, I don't know. I mean, we got some questions. The temple, the human body, equal to human body. Temple could be also considered the mind.
I mean, all of that sounds cool, and I don't disagree with that, but humanity is a social construct. Human beings come together and depend on each other to survive. See? So we can't trivialize the human experience as being purely individual. That's out, because none of us live that way. Every living thing is bound by cords to every other living thing. So yeah, we could say, well, the human body's the temple. Yeah, the mind is the temple. We could say all of that. But everything that you enjoy is in societies because of your inclusion in society. Other people coming together.
Yes, sir.
And that's the bottom line. You see? See, part of the Negro problem is the Negro mentality. The Negro mentality can't see past his own nose. The Negro mentality says every Negro for himself. Nationality says, man, okay, I'm just going to go. I've said this before, but I'm going to say it. You know who understands nationality among our people very well? Gang members. Because they understand that their very existence and survival depends on not just them, but their brothers. So when you see one, you see them all, even if you only see one. We know that, don't we?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you see one, he's by himself. Not really. Not really. You see what I'm saying? He got that red rag out of his pocket. Oh, he's spoken for. He's made. You better watch it. See? All right. Nobody's coming for the Negro. The Negro is ostracized from the human family so badly that now we do it ourselves. It's on autopilot. We see people that look like you and me, just like you and me in Mexico, and call them Black Mexicans, Black Filipinos, Black Arabs. Huh? Do those people call themselves Black Mexicans, Black Filipinos, or Black Arabs? No. They say Mexican, Arab, you get it?
Yeah.
Filipino. They don't other themselves. Because if I'm a Black Mexican, then what's a regular Mexican? Are you kidding? See what I'm saying?
Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We now we other ourselves proudly.
And what Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought was to bring us back into society.
Yes.
Through the mind, through the state of the mind.
And living the life.
And living.
Collectively.
Now, when you say living the life, I mean, what does it mean?
Okay, good question. Let's say have you ever been to a foreign country?
No.
Okay. Let's say you spent a year in China. Do they have the same customs as Americans? No. Mm-mm. Do they have the same mindset as Americans? No. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Many of them speak English, so we won't even count the language piece. But the customs, the culture, the mindset, different. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. This is what we mean. That's why the wording in Act 6 is the way it is. With us, meaning members of the organization, all members must proclaim the nationality. Ain't no choice. And we are teaching our people, non-members, their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they're a part and parcel of this said government, meaning you have something to contribute to American society. You could stand up with everybody else equally. We are teaching them that. In other words, teaching you your cultural heritage, teaching you the mindset of your forefathers. You can't live something that you don't know. See? You can't live something that you don't know. What do you know about the Moorish Science Temple of America's teaching that makes members or that sets us apart as unique? What do you know?
Me?
Yes, sir.
That sets us apart from the rest of from the human family?
Or others. Anybody in America?
I would say real simple, the Moorish American prayer.
Yes, that's big. Give me another one. See, watch this. Our people, especially the so-called woke people, trivialize that. But other cultures and other societies do not. They know how important that is. They know how that, because it shapes your mind. You see what I'm saying? You creating culture, that's a big deal. Huge deal. Give me something else.
That the main 5 principles that we stand on is love, truth, peace,
peace, freedom, and justice. There you go. That's another. Everything you're naming is what's called incorporeal hereditament. It's cultural heritage. It's worth more than gold. It's what defines us as American citizens, and every other organization, every other national group. That's how they're defined as American citizens. You see? Mm-hmm. Every other national group, they have the American flag, and what else? What other flag do they have?
Every other group, they have the
They have
flag
every
of
other
their-
every other national group in American
Oh
society.
yeah, they have their flag from their descent. Yeah.
That's a big deal.
I want to talk about on the next one, the Moorish flag.
Let's do it.
I want to talk about that.
But now the things that we're talking about here, I
Mm.
want everybody to look up this term. It's a sociology term. Civil religion. Look it up. Civil religion. If you look up, especially members of the movement, students of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, if you familiarize yourself with the term civil religion, a lot of what Prophet Drew Ali did is going to make even more sense to you.
Civil religion.
Civil religion. You know what it is? You ready? I'm oversimplifying it with this definition. Civil religion is a part of sociology, right? That treats civic activity. You heard me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Civic activity as sacred and ritualizes it almost to the point of being religious. Let me repeat that. Civil religion is a part of sociology. Nationality is sociology, people. Black court in science means death. What science? Sociology. See how this starts to fit together? Okay. Civil religion is that part of sociology that deals with certain aspects of civic activity as sacred or ritualized to the point of being religious. Want me to give an example? Everybody rise and stand for the singing of the national anthem. That's civil religion. But this is America. This is America. So civil religion is varied because you've got people from different old world connections.
Mm-hmm.
Get it?
Yes, sir.
You know who pushes this civil religion thing more so nowadays in America? The far right. Why? Because what are they pushing? Euro-Christian.
Right.
Christian identity.
Yep.
Our civil religion would look different, wouldn't it? Because our contribution is different. Now you see why divine creed is so important. Now you see why, even though the prophet said he first incorporated the organization as a civic organization, but the work is largely religious. Now you see. Now you see why the prophet said that casting a ballot at the polls is sacred. Now you see why he said the preaching of the doctrine of economic security. You get it now?
Yes, sir. I got it.
Yeah. This is the goal, people. How you live, not filing paperwork, not writing off your debt on a mythical trust.
I have a question. Can you compare and I don't know what you're saying there. Contract the Amish MSTA in relation to de facto.
They mean compare and
versus,
contrast. Go ahead, say it again.
yeah, he's can you compare and contrast the Amish MST? Oh yeah, he spelled it correctly now. Contrast. Can you compare and contrast the Amish with the MSTA in relation to de facto versus de jure?
Okay, remind me of the de facto versus de jure thing. Let's talk about the Amish thing, right? They're not an independent nation on American soil. Are you kidding me? They just have a more closed society where they're more closed into themselves. They can get arrested, and they do get arrested. They do go to court. They are subject to the law. Don't believe that. Don't believe otherwise. That's the truth. They're not much different than a Chinatown or Little Italy. See? Which is honorable. It's honorable. The Prophet Drew Ali even said Moors live together. Same thing. Doesn't mean you're not subject to the laws. Okay, de facto and de jure. Let's talk about it. Most of us, first of all, the vast majority of us using those terms are not lawyers, not attorneys, and never went to law school. So what, you read a law dictionary? I wish it was that easy to read a dictionary and say I know law. I used to think so. I thought so. I got a Black's Law Dictionary 3rd edition, people. 3rd. I thought, man, what? I got it all, man. I got a 3rd edition. At first, everybody was like, get a 4th edition because they changed it after the 4th edition. Man, I got a 3rd edition. You know what I'm saying? I thought, I was the man. Man, I wish it was that easy to learn law by reading a dictionary. I wish it was. But anyway.
Or case law.
Or case law. Right, stop. De jure versus de facto. They have, most people, especially a lot of people outside, wrong understanding. This is what people say. De facto means, oh, they're in force, but they're not rightful. De jure means, oh, it's rightful or real, right? This is what it means, people. You ready? De facto means in fact, literally. That's what it literally means. It's Latin. We think de facto means phony. No, it doesn't mean phony. It means in fact. That's what it means. But we think, follow me, because again, remember, damaged psychology. We think, well, de facto means phony or faulty, thus unlawful or illegal, therefore I don't have to obey it. Try it, see what happens. That's what we think. See? Yeah, try it. See? De facto literally means in fact. And you know what a judge told me a long time ago when I was doing a lot of this stuff? Right? And I was letting him have it in the courtroom. He pulled me in his chambers and took his robe off. I can give you his name. He passed away a couple of years ago, but here in Syracuse, his name was Judge Cunningham. That was his name. He took his, and yeah, he had an interesting reputation. He took his robe off. He disrobed. He said, "Yeah, you know what? You know just enough to get you killed." That's what he told me. He said, "This is what he said. Listen to this." He said, "You think you know some law, huh?" He said, "I'm going to tell you what you're about to do. You're about to take this plea, or I'm going to hold you till the statute of limitations runs out. And you're going to lose everything." He said, "Look outside. I got an army. What you got?" He said, "All this law you think you know, didn't you learn one of the most basic things about law?" I said, "What's that?" He said, "Possession is 9/10 of the law." That's what he said. For all those that think de facto doesn't mean anything, de facto means in fact. And do you think
the brother?
Go ahead.
The brother Awareness Daily said, "De jure, the state system, de facto, the family system."
Maybe, possibly. We'd have to get him on so he could explain that one. But, you know, you think a holy and divine prophet is going to sacrifice his very life just so you could beat some traffic tickets and some child support and a gun charge and a weed charge? You see what I'm saying? It's crazy. You think he did this so just in case you're in front of a judge? Huh? Well, when you go to court, huh? What you doing in court? Well, you know they railroad our people. Oh, okay, yeah, that does happen. But do you really think a prophet came to us to give you a just-in-case card?
Brother Simeon Bey says that judge response was interesting. I think it was. I think it sounded like he was under pressure, or
I'm gonna tell you what it was, brother.
He couldn't deal with you.
I'm gonna tell you what it was. He liked me. Well, I got stories about judges, people. See, a lot of the stuff that people are talking about doing, we did it. I got stories about judges. I do. I got lots of them. Right? I got lots of them. But I say all that to say this. I learned from my own experience that this movement is not about the law. That's a big misconception about the Moorish movement. Or the Moorish movement is, you know, they know the law. They know the law. They know the law. Nah. Huge misconception. Because the misconception comes from thinking that nationality is a legal term because they read it in a legal dictionary. Nationality is a sociology term. See? People went the wrong direction. They went the wrong direction. It's wrong. I don't care what nobody says. It's wrong. See? Nationality is sociology. Politics trumps the law, and sociology trumps politics. Where would you rather be? At the table discussing with lawmakers what laws should pass, what laws should be made, or arguing with a judge in a low-level court after the fact? Where would you rather be? See? Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Why does sociology trump politics? Because people's minds are already stigmatized that you're an inherent criminal before they even make the laws. That's where the fight is, people. Socially. That's the fight.
And so what the prophet had us pretty much implement into our lives, that would help change the perception, because we'll change as a people, our customs and everything, the way we carry ourselves, the way we dress. Moors dress. What do you say? Moors look your best.
Look your best. Moors look your best.
Yeah.
Moors look your best. I like because it was no different. I'm quoting from Minister Louis Farrakhan, who learned it, of course, from Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But I'm quoting from it. Why? Because the prophet did it before then. I'm not saying that's where Elijah got it from, but the prophet did it before then for very similar reasons. Minister Farrakhan a number of years ago was like, look, we don't put you in a suit and tie just to sell newspapers. We put you in a suit and tie because it's business attire. The newspapers are just to crack the egg. So you get in people's homes and you earn their trust. And then you introduce to them your product. You do business. You build yourself. See?
So why doesn't the MSTA do that?
We're supposed to.
Yeah.
We're supposed to. We're supposed to. On the divine ministry paper, it says hit the highways and byways. Establish temples. That's what it says. Yeah. We're supposed to.
Yes, sir.
If people are not doing it, then that means what? We fell asleep on the job. Doesn't mean it ain't going to get done, though. Because some of us ain't going to fall asleep.
Sharif is right. It's social. The prophet said in a more profound sense, our problems are moral and spiritual.
That's exactly what he said. He said in a general sense, the problems of the world are social and economic, but in a profound sense, they are moral and spiritual. Back to an earlier question you asked about where are our hospitals, where are our schools, where are this and the third. He said, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven. People say, oh, there he goes with that religious stuff. Brother, you're a martial artist like me, right? If I want to damage somebody by punching them in the nose, do I punch at the surface of their nose or do I punch behind their head? I punch past their head.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Through the body.
Through the body. Guess what I get? Everything in between. Yeah. See my point? Yeah. So if I'm just aiming for the dollars, If I'm just aiming for the schools and the restaurants, it's going to be hard. But if
the brother awareness, I don't mean to cut you, brother.
right.
The brother awareness daily. I think that people get lost in the wording, the semantics of words. And he's making reference to citizen. He says he's a forefather, not a citizen. I'm an architect, the designer, not the designed.
In the American system, the citizen is the designer.
Right.
In the American system of government, the people rule by way of their elected representatives. That's called a Republican form of government. If you look in your Black's Law Dictionary and look up the word sovereign power, guess what it tells you? It is the power of the constituent citizenry to impact their government via the electoral process. See, these guys ain't tell you when they talk sovereign this and sovereign that, they ain't tell you that voting is the sovereign power. See that? The citizen is the architect. The citizen is the designer. And that's the truth. Yeah.
Do the citizens create the Constitution or the forefathers?
The forefathers were citizens. The forefathers know. Okay, and he asked a great question. The forefathers framed the Constitution. The citizens voted on its ratification. That's the truth. They didn't just write it and say, "Poof, how there it is," and we impose it on you guys. That's not what happened. The citizens voted on it, whether to say yay or nay. That's what happened. Why? Because the founding fathers were what? Representative government. They represented the people.
Right. Awareness daily, you talking more like a dictator.
But I get it, because that's what it feels like we live under, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I get it. But that ain't the principles. One of the things the prophet is doing? The prophet is, now if we want to talk about what he's doing with the so-called European, here we go. Many people have heard of what's called the American social contract. And as it relates to our people, America keeps breaking the social contract. The prophet is holding the European to the American social contract. That's it. He's holding the European to the American social contract. There you go.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I want to wrap this up. It was a great build. We got a lot of information in this build right here. I need you brothers and sisters to rewind this, go through it, because the title of the video says, does a Moorish Science Temple have a trust? If you missed the answer to that question, rewind it, go through it again, because he explains it thoroughly. And Brother Sharif explains where this idea comes from, comes from Frank Louis L. Bey.
That's a fact.
And you got to rewind it and get that. You got to get that information. This is a court case you could actually look up online.
Frank Louis L. Bey versus Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated. You can look it up.
All right, brothers and sisters, thanks for watching us. Thanks for viewing us. Peace to everybody out there. We'll be back tomorrow. I think it's occult science tomorrow. I don't know if the sister's still up for it or not, but we would definitely let you guys know if you see us pop up at 7 o'clock. Our schedule is usually Tuesday 7:30, Wednesday 7 p.m. with Brother Sharif. Thursday, it's like occult science. It could be whatever we announce, I spoke to, just put this out there, Aline Bay. Aline Bay, who came from the 5% Nation and then went into the Moorish teachings later on down the road. So I'm talking to that brother, see if I can get him up here as well. We got a lot coming as the weeks progress. Keep building this platform. Thank you guys for helping us build this platform. Thanks for brother Sharif for helping us build this platform. And we're signing out. With that, I'm gonna say peace.
Peace.